Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Krashy, and today let's go ahead and dive into the patch notes for v0.10, v0.10. Yeah, haven't been super attuned into Predecessor, but Lizard Zarus has been announced, and yeah, let's go ahead and see what all kinds of changes. Let's dive into the kit, all that good stuff, because I haven't been making videos very much lately. So, you know, y'all have already probably seen this because I'm a little behind. So Zarus has been announced, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. So, champion of Near and blessed of the god of Sanaz, whatever, roars to combat. Lizard Man, a ferocious warrior with an insatiable appetite for power and glory. Zarus dominates the battlefield in his quest for godhood. So we can probably watch this again. Yeah, might as well. We'll do a really quick once over since y'all never saw me watch it. I'll give my thoughts.
And fearlessness to the battlefield with this relentless pursuit of ascending to godhood.
Godhood.
Close quarters combat, effortlessly
Yeah,
closing the distance.
he just gets on people and smacks the shit out of them.
Mighty prowess. Being the renowned champion gladiator of Near, Zarus' passive gladiator shows off.
That looks fun.
Upon entering
That
combat,
looks fun.
Zarus gains a stack of gladiator when he deals damage with a basic attack.
Yeah, I want to read gladiator.
Enemy heroes. Each stack grants increased physical power.
Because that sounds like a good Draconum stacker.
Stacks will fall off over time, restoring some of his maximum health per stack consumed.
Definitely a Draconum user.
Champion without defense. Zarus' primary ability is Barricade. Zarus brings unwavering resolve as he unfolds his legendary
Yeah, that's
shield,
cool.
reducing incoming damage. Upon recasting or after the duration, Zarus swings the shield, dealing physical damage,
Very cool.
also stunning any target's hit. With Zarus' alternate ability, Spear of Near, he brings the power.
Dude, Zarus phase is going to be so fun to play.
Zarus winds up and channels to throw his
There's the
spear.
skin.
He then launches his spear, dealing physical damage to all targets hit.
I wonder what the cooldown of that's like.
Will instead cause Zarus to thrust his spear forward, dealing the same damage, but refunding half the cooldown.
Okay, that's cool.
With his secondary ability, called Evade, Zarus is able to dash in the current movement direction while gaining movement speed.
Yeah, just a nice little
and
dash.
attack speed. Zarus' unrelenting thirst for blood in and out of the arena.
What if it's percentage attack speed or just like flat
Zarus'
attack speed?
Ultimate Coliseum. Zarus targets an enemy hero and leaps on top of them while summoning a Coliseum. For
Point
all
and
who
click,
witness his
man.
power, Zarus' passive
Híjole.
Gladiator is doubled within the Coliseum. If Zarus kills an enemy target,
It's
he
doubled
gains
inside
permanent physical
Coliseum?
power to boost his strength.
If a Revenant ever ults you, just Coliseum.
Anybody who dares to get near. Zarus
At
is a
near,
mobile yet
like
durable
his
fighter.
lore.
Remember, stacking conditional effects is in his core loop. You can maximize
cool.
his damage by using items such as Mutilator.
That's what I need to
passive
understand.
Effects stack and double when Zarus hits a target with an ability, thus dealing additional damage. With the added sustain, keeping him alive in battle longer, playing off of his passive that grants bonus physical
It's good
power.
haste and good
Keep in
health
mind
steal, so
to
yeah.
stay in the fight as long as you can to optimize his bonuses. Zarus is voiced
by yours truly, Nabori.
Cool.
Get ready to unleash the fury and might of the battlefield with the epic Warlord Zarus skin and his custom visual effects, setting you apart from your foes.
All right, so let's talk about Zarus really quickly. One, I think the kit is incredibly simple. The design of the character isn't super crazy to me, but it looks like a lot of fun. I'm a little disappointed with the visuals. I posted a little bit of this on Twitter. He's fine, right? Like he looks like he kind of belongs, but this skin looks more of like what I wish he looked like natively, and then they kind of upsold like a really crazy skin, and I think this skin looks good, but I think that his like grayscale looking self is just kind of like boring, and it's like really flat. Like I feel like I don't know, he looks fine, right? Like he looks fine, and I think the design is just of the kit is like super simple, but it works and it looks like a lot of fun. So I mean, I love bruisers, right? It's my favorite archetype in MOBAs. I'm gonna jungle him. I'm gonna just dive in and you know, left click a lot. That's what I do. He's Chimera, he's Greystone, right? That's what I do. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual kit now. So Gladiator passive, because this is the thing, I want to understand the nuance to it all. Upon entering combat, gain a stack of Gladiator when dealing damage with basic attacks or abilities to enemy heroes or monsters, stacking up to 8 times. Each stack grants 1% increased power. So you 100% build Draconum on this character, right? Like you have to. So after exiting combat, stacks will fall off over 5 seconds, restoring, you know, 0.1 or 0.5123%. with level influence of Zarus, maximum health per stack consumed. Very cool. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's funny enough, I don't know if the Draconum increased healing is gonna affect that because it's gonna like fall off. I don't know. But yeah, Draconum will do well with this character. Thrust left mouse button, cleave 10%, range 375, melee attack. Barricade. Cooldown 22, 20.5, 19, 17.5, 16, cost 80. Effect unfold your shield for 1.5 seconds, reducing incoming damage by 60, 70, or 60, 65, 70, 75, 80% upon recasting or the duration or after the duration, swing the shield, dealing 55, 75, 95, 115, 135, plus 100% bonus physical power, physical damage, increasing up to 110 up to 270 plus 200% bonus physical power based on duration, and stunning targets hit for 0.5 seconds. This sounds like a really strong ability. You can lower the cooldown quite a bit, reduces the incoming damage, could be prospected first ability to max, probably will be. But we'll see just by reading it. Cooldown 16 of evade, cooldown 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, cost 40, dash your current movement direction, gaining 50% movement speed for 1.5 seconds and 20% attack speed for 4 seconds. So it is percentage attack speed, so that could be really interesting if you were to build something like, I don't know, a sky splitter on him and, increase your attack speed a little bit more. This will probably be last max just based on it. It's only a 4-second cooldown difference. From max, the cost is static, so, same here. You don't have to really worry about lowering the cost, and that's why you would want to max something, and then you don't really gain a ton for having it maxed up. So this will definitely be last max, I can already tell you now. And then Spear of Near, cooldown from 12 down to 10. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's looking like you max the Q first. Cost 30, static cost. Effect, channel throwing the spear, dealing 70, 100, 130, 160, 190, plus 110 bonus physical power. Physical damage to targets hit, releasing within 0.3 seconds will thrust the spear forward, dealing the same damage and refunding half the cooldown. So you releasing within 0.3 seconds will thrust the spear forward. So you have to, in order to get that condition, the lower cooldown, you have to throw it instantly. That seems okay. That seems interesting. Damage increases by 100% against targets below 20% maximum health. Deal 75% damage to minions. Okay. I mean, I could see you maxing this in lane potentially as well. I don't know. It's going to be Q or right mouse button, so we'll see. And then Coliseum R, 120 cooldown, 180, cost 100. Leap at an enemy hero, dealing 150, 235, 320, plus 100%, 150% bonus physical power, physical damage. A large Coliseum is summoned for 6 seconds. The bonus from Gladiator is doubled. So, yeah, you're essentially getting a ton of power and then potentially a ton of healing if it falls off. So, like I said, really simple kit. If the target is killed within the duration, you will permanently gain... Wait, what? What? If the target is killed within the duration, you will permanently gain 6, 8, 10 physical power. You may recast this ability to end it early. So you want to kill somebody and then end it, so that way you get that, I guess. I was sitting here thinking, like, why would you want to end this early? Your teammates can probably walk through the Coliseum, so I don't think it's not like acting like a true wall. But I guess if you kill someone, you can just end it and gain permanent physical power, which is pretty crazy. That's really crazy. I just feel like this is kind of snuck in here. So yeah, Zarus seems strong. From what I can tell, at least kit design, like I said, I think it's a pretty simple kit, but he looks really effective. So, and then we have the Warlord skin, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so updated hero ability descriptions. Hero ability descriptions have a glow up. All the important text you need to know is now color coded, with each of the ability properties having its own bulleted line. It's never been easier to follow along. I mean, I think they're doing like this stuff, right? Like where you can see the iteration of changes, because before you couldn't see that. So nice little glow up. I'm not going to read much into that. We'll take a look at that in game at some point. Let's look at Countess. Countess' reliance on acquiring passive stacks to succeed in a match is a double-edged sword. It means she tends to function less reliably in low kill games, while conversely has the potential to snowball out of control and become a healing menace should she feast too heavily on her opponents. Stripping back on the magical lifesteal available in her passive and redistributing it into her ultimate will ensure Countess is less tied to her early kill to thrive and won't run rampant quite as easily, especially when building tanky. Nice. Magical lifesteal per stack decrease from 1.5% to 1%. So that's going to be a pretty big like lifesteal hit over the course of a full game potentially. And then damage increase on her E 80 up to 240 to 85 up to 245. So small damage increase for her E to kind of compensate a little bit, and then even on her R, percentage healing increase from 45% to 50%. So I think this is going to balance her out quite a bit because she is really hard to take down whenever she gets the ball rolling, and it can be really frustrating. So Gotcha possesses an incredible amount of hidden utility due to the amount of magical armor shred present on her ultimate, which frequently enables high magical damage compositions to succeed beyond the norm. Like Drongo before her, we stripping back the shred damage or duration to ensure its strength is isolated more to Gadget's individual burst rather than her team, while also shifting some strength away from spammable wave clear and into her sticky mind to better reward her for singling out a target. That was a weird word to read. Sticky mind Q, magical power scaling increase from 70% to 75%. Right mouse button seek and destroy cooldown increase from 10 down to 8 to 12 down to 10. And then Tesla Dome shred duration decrease from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. That seems good. That seems good. Greystone. The stone hasn't been quite living up to his potential as of late. Yeah, he definitely is like a slow starter and he scales really well, but man, he's kind of tough to get into games sometimes. But I love him. So, especially in the offlane where he loses out to many opponents and struggles to come online, to help give him an edge, or bumping up his general strength in the early game to help him hold his own in lane, while also doubling down on his unique capability to block basic attack by bolstering his deflect capabilities in late game. So, general base health increased. By 25. Nice. Stoicism passive deflect cooldown decreased from 15 to 6.5, minus 0.5 per level, to 15 to 4.8, minus 6 per level. So minus 0.6 per level. So he gets his passive a little bit more often. Make way. Damage increased from 70, 115, 160, 205, 250 to 75, 120, 165, 210, 255. So a little bit more damage on the Q. And then the cooldown is going to be reduced a little bit in the early game and kind of falls back off to where it was in the late game. So that's, I mean, this is really nice. I'm liking these changes immediately just because of like I can jungle him and he'll be a little bit better in jungle too. So assault the gates, right mouse button, damage increased from 90, 135, 182, 25, 270 to 100, 145, 190, 235, 280. So a small damage bump at every section, and then camera can now be rotated after casting. Ooh, probably literally the best change about Greystone. Not even kidding. His camera lock on his jump is just super awkward. Howitzer, more early boom for the R2000 missile after the expense of some early mana pool to ensure Howitzer doesn't feel overly welcome in the support role now that he's bringing some extra heat to the early game. So base health decreased a little bit, base mana decreased a little bit, or actually a pretty substantial bit. That's a lot of mana decrease. Mana growth increased though, so he's going to get some of that back, or like can compensate for that change. And then an early game damage boost to the Q. Cool. So just trying to pull him up a little bit because he fell out of favor for a good bit there, but was pretty crazy for a while. So Belka has been finding a little too much success lately. No kidding. Largely due to her pairing of her early lane pressure and late game stun capabilities, with less value coming from missing mana damage on early neutral disruptors. Enemy mages will now feel less overwhelmed in the laning phase when on mana deficit. Likewise, a single stun will now be slightly less of a death sentence after Belka achieves rank 5, nudging her down her late game efficacy. Hopefully that's true, because holy hell. So innovation stun duration decreased from 1.6 seconds to 1.45. Nice. That's a long stun, dude. Void drone E, gold when destroyed increased from 10 to 20. Ooh, cool. I guess, cool. And then I don't know how I feel about that change. Neural Disruptor R, damage increased from 150, 250, 225 to 300 to 170, 235, 300. So like early and mid ultimate damage increases, but then it's gonna be decreased right here. Enemy missing mana damage decreased from 0.5, 0.55, 0.6 to 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. So a little bit more flat damage in the early to mid, and then evens out. So overall, ultimate nerf, so to pull her late game efficacy, like they said, which I think these sound somewhat reasonable. We'll see. Mostly just the stun change. We'll see. We shall see how that feels. Narbash, the Jolly Orc has proved too potent as of late, with high base damage and the ability to heal up any poke with a beat of his drum. Punishing Narbash is a difficult task to reduce its overall efficacy. We're shifting some of his damage values to create more trade-offs between tank and enchanter itemization, while taking a small chunk out of his early healing capabilities. Oh, and there's a cleave buff too. If you know, you know. I don't know. I don't know what that's referencing. Basic attack cleave increased from 10% to 20%. Cool. Song of People E, healing per rhythm stack decreased by a bit. I don't really want to read everything here. Bug fixing healing per rhythm stack now correctly increases with rank. Cool. Thunk. Base damage increased of his right mouse button. Thunk a little bit in the kind of early level 2 range, and then kind of scales up a bit there. Magic power scaling increase. So if you wanted to build more magic power enchantery items, then he'll do a little bit more damage on that. Crash Bang Boom R damage decreased from 200, 300, 400 to 180, 270, a 360 magic power scaling increase. So again, they're pulling some of his damage out base, and like, hey, you gotta build that if you want it. So he won't be doing as much damage and being as tanky. If you go kind of like tanky or enchantery support utility items, he won't be doing as much damage. So Revenant receives a lot of upfront early power from his passive, allowing him to overly stat check others in lane should he get even a small gold lead. By shifting the curve of his base or bonus power gain from his passive and redistributing some of his obliterate damage into scaling, Rev should prove to be a little less oppressive at his level, his one item spike. Yeah, I think Rev is actually crazy. I think he snowballs super hard, and so we'll see what they did to him. So his passive, levels 1 to 18 decrease from 5.75% to 10 to 1.5% to 10. Oh yeah, that's a huge bump down from the early game for bonus physical power. So yeah, hopefully he doesn't just snowball out of control, I guess. Obliterate Q damage decreased from 40, 60, 80, 100, 120 to 40, 55, 70, 85, 100. So bringing that Q down a little bit, and then the bonus physical power scaling increase. So you'll scale into some of that damage, but they're just going to pull a little bit back. So, quick bump in mana economy for Reaper. In short, heavy Siphon use in lane will result in 1 or 2 less casts before recall, ensuring fairer trade-off, early efficacy for Sevarog. So, give him a little bit of mana in the laning phase, essentially. The Fae. For this patch, we're pushing the Fae's damage profile away from relying on heavy stun lock in favor of providing more raw burst potential. This should better enable her to blow up a target or 5 single-handedly with a well-timed ultimate, but leave her opponent more room for recovery and response should they survive the initial burst now that the stun is less potent. So she's less of an ult bot and hopefully more of like an actual damage-dealing mage. So Flytrap R damage increased flat, and then stun duration decreased by 0.3 seconds or 0.4 seconds. Magic power scaling increase. So she's going to do more damage, but she's not going to just lock them there for them to be more damaged. So it's like more about her doing the damage and being less annoying to play into, and not just having her win the team fight because she pressed a button. So that's pretty cool. Also, that should help her out in other stages of the game when she's like just fighting people by herself. So, yeah. Twin Blast is still overperforming in a few areas. For starters, Vortex Grenades are a little too efficient in the later stages of the lane and can use a hit to their damage to bring them in line. On the other hand, Ventilate is a huge point of contention for many and can prove oppressive, especially in Deathstalker builds. However, now that Deathstalker has received a rework, we've chosen to hold off any additional adjustments to Ventilate while we wait for the dust to settle. Yeah, we'll have to see what that looks like. So his armor growth is being increased a bit. It's a bug fix. Vortex Grenade right mouse button damage increased from 20, 35, 50, 65, 80 to 20, 45, 55, 70, 85. Total physical power scaling decreased 100% to 90%. So just rebalancing on some of the damage, flat to scaling. And let's look at the items. I don't ever read the tier 2 items. I really don't care. I'm going to be honest. Crest Obelisk. Obelisk's ability to turn its wielder, be they mage or tank, into a burst mage, veers away from the core identity item as a scaling option for magical use as a result in too much strength. We're shifting some of its damage potential away from soul stacking and further into its magic power scaling to ensure the overall damage output of Condemn is more reasonable and more tailored to those that build for damage. So Condemn base damage decreased from 80 to 70, Condemn damage per soul decreased from 15 to 12, and the Condemn magic power scaling increased from 20 to 25%. Okay, so I mean, you see similar trends in how they balance, right? Like they're going to pull some power and then they're going to give it back in a scaling fashion. So yeah, Obelisk can get kind of nutty, but I never really thought of it as much of a problem. But I think this is a decent change. I'll have to wait and see. It'll either feel useless or it'll be fine, and I think it'll be fine. Including with this section are 3 assassin item reworks: Deathstalker Dread and Nightfall. These are described below in further detail, but the goal with these items is to provide clear thematic options for a form of new attack speed option, anti-magic option, and sustain option. Cool. Let's take a look at that. So Deathstalker rework. Deathstalker provided an extra % shred option that doubled up damage against both tanks and squishies alike, providing too much damage output for those few heroes who could use it and being especially abusive when stacked with other means of % penetration. We've opted to rework it into attack speed oriented choice, better facilitating new build combinations that we wish to blend high attack speed with assassin playstyle, whether that's with Fang Mao, a Wild Grux, or even a rad round slinging Drongo. So the old item, I love that they did this finally, was a physical shred item that cost 3,100, had 45 physical power, 10 pen, 10 haste, and then this was the recipe, whatever. Corrode, dealing damage to enemy hero, reduces their physical armor by 4% for 3 seconds, stacking it to 6 times, and then your abilities deal 25% bonus physical damage against targets with 6 stacks of Corrode. So it was big shred. Now, it's in a physical shred attack speed item, same cost, slightly less power, slightly less pen, no haste on it. Now it has 18 attack speed, and it is a basic attacks against enemy heroes, shred 2 physical armor for 3 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Onslaught gain attack speed equal to 70% of your physical penetration. So the funny thing about this is that, like, I think this is just like a carry item now. Like, yeah, you can build it on assassins if you're trying to go an attack speed build, and maybe you do both because they've created this option. Now that I think about it, like, I could build like a 2-3 core pen kind of build, and then I slap this in third slot, right? That's actually probably exactly what I do if I think about it. Because why wouldn't you? You would gain free attack speed based on your pen, and this gives you pen. The only thing it doesn't, and it gives you a little bit of attack speed, which I think is like negligible because I would rather have the haste, I think. But it's the fact that it's going to give you something for having the pen that you have. So it's interesting. This item seems really good. I'm just thinking about it. I think I could probably third or fourth slot this item very effectively on most assassin type characters, and then it'll probably be really good on certain carry builds. Maybe, I don't know. Is there a world where you just stack a bunch of pen? Is that a thing? Could you do that? Could you just stack a bunch of pen as a carry? Probably. I don't know. We'll see. While Dread reworked. While enjoyed by many, Dread provided too many benefits as a standalone item. Not only did it serve as an anti-magic option via stat line, but it also granted health sustain, mana sustain, and mobility, all while granting a reset condition that blurs the lines with Draconum. Having so many functions with a single item bloated its utility, frequently making it an optimal pick in the vast majority of cases, best in slot, while also overlapping thematically with other items, thus convoluting the item set. To keep Dread even more focused, repurposing into a strictly anti-magic burst option usable by anyone, some extra damage, and looking to dive into the magical fray. So it was 40 power, 8 pen, 30 magic armor, had base regen, and then, it gave you that, like, the burst of healing when you got a kill, and then you get out of combat movement speed. So now it's 40 power, 10 pen, 30 magic armor, so more pen. Upon receiving magical damage from an enemy hero, block 25% of all incoming magic damage for 3 seconds. Nice. Okay. Sinister Shield regenerates after not having received damage from heroes for 20 seconds. So you get that like once a fight then. Scourge. While Sinister Shield is available, gain 20 bonus physical power. That seems like a good item. Yeah, it's like a nice assassin. I'm still gonna build it because half the reason I built Dread before was just because it gave me the stats that I want as an assassin, and it gave me magic armor. So yeah, I'll still probably build this. Like, it may be, third, fourth slot, second if I'm feeling desperate, because like I need to be able to deal with someone. That seems like a good item. Okay. Nightfall's isolate split push condition did not translate well into 3D space as previous implementation and saw little play as a result. Yeah, it just was like weird to get off. In a bid to revitalize the item and redefine it, now Deathstalkers are better occupying the attack speed niche. We're doubling down on Nightfall as an alternative sustain tool. So before, same cost. It had 10 more power than it's going to have now. Same pen. And then dealing damage to an isolated enemy hero, grant 10% attack speed and 10% ability haste. Yeah, this item was weird because like it's hard to, it felt hard to get the condition off, but also like the item kind of falls off later on in late game team fights. But also like the attack speed's like, you don't really need that as an assassin a lot of the time. So just like, and then it gave you the Omnivamp, which is like also another thing. It's like, you don't really need that. I think honestly someone like Grux probably used this item the best, but yeah, just not a great item. So now we have 35 power, 12 pen, 8% lifesteal. That's interesting. Abilities heal for 5% of damage dealt to enemy heroes. Blood Moon, while below 40% maximum health, Eclipse healing increases to 10%. I'm building this on Chimera. Like, that's the first thing I can think about is like, I think I'm going to build this on Kai. Like, which you kind of like, abilities heal for 5% of the damage dealt to enemy heroes. Like, that's only going to happen on a couple of abilities, but while below 40% maximum health, Eclipse's healing is increased to 10%. Like, it's just more healing, right? Like, will this work on Kai's Q? Because it has, I mean, it does damage. It's going to work on every instance of the Q. Like, it comes with 8% lifesteal, so that's increased healing. And it's a cheap item that has, you know, a good amount of power and some pen. I think I could build this on Chimera, or I won't need to build it on Chimera. I mean, there's other characters I can think about too, but I love thinking about Kai. So that's interesting. It's an interesting item because it's not inherently the most strong, like the strongest item, but it comes to pen and like it's a sustain item, right? That's exactly what it is. It's a sustain item. So interesting. Perforator, a quick shift in stats to make Perforator more haste heavy, better rounding out builds when it's picked up and differentiating it further from Demolisher. Cost decrease from 3,300 to 3,200. Physical power decrease from 55 to 45. Ability haste increase from 15 to 25. Okay, slight rebalance on that. Oathkeeper was needlessly scaling too heavily with total physical power rather than magic power, so we're adjusting its scaling to allow it to ramp appropriately with magical builds. Total physical power scaling decreased from 60% to 35%. Magic power and scaling. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big hit to the physical power, but I'm not gonna lie, I never built this item, so I don't even know when there was like abuse cases for that. And True Silver, less base shield, more scaling. This will help reduce the efficacy of True Silver as a first buy regardless of class and ensure it scales more sizably throughout the match. Reprisal base shield decreased from 250 to 200. Reprisal bonus health shield scaling. Bonus health shield increased from 15% to 20%. Reprisal shield duration decreased from 5% to 5 seconds to 4 seconds. Reprisal damage decreased from 60% to 50%. Interesting. I wonder how that's going to affect Gideon. I am definitely too lazy to read bug fixes. And there you have it, friends. Some good item changes. I'm excited about some of these assassin item changes. Some of the item changes I don't really care about much. And then I think that most of the balancing choices, like I'm like pretty fine with. Like I think they all seem pretty good. I'm excited to see what they look like. And then of course we got Zarus, which again, I think that his design is a little uninspired to me. I think that he looks like this skin probably should have been the base skin, and I wish that he was green because he's a lizard. Giant lizard would be cool. I mean, red is cool too. And then I wish that the big skin would have been something really crazy. Although I do love his armor, I just think that this feels much more like the base skin to me. And this one, man, like even if he had the exact same color palette, but his body was green, I think I would love it more. Because like they played up like the spear and the shield, and it like there's like the green, like the emerald looking color, and then he just has like no green. It's like just his eyes. So I don't know. I think he's just a little too gray. It makes him look a little bit boring to me. If his whole body was this emeraldy green looking color, I think he'd look really sick. I think it would contrast off like the teeth color and the horn color maybe if he was just like green. But that's just my thoughts. So friends, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, be sure to be kind of tell someone you love them, and I'll see you in the next video.